Hi everyone, today we're going to have a closer look at this unique liquid cooler coming from Deepcool known as the Mystique 360. Before I begin, I'd like to thank Deepcool to have provided this unit for me to share with you guys and to tag Dynamic to have done the arrangement on the delivery. Starting off with the accessories, these are all the accessories that is found in this box. And those small items over here you see, they are being packed in small packages like this, and there are labels on the package. And everything, right, will be packed in this Ziploc bag in this box. Now you'll be provided with an instruction manual, followed by the support information. Next will be the extension cable. This is a 4-pin PWM fan connector, extension connector, whereby one end connect to your radiator fans and the other end connect to your motherboard. And this section here, this is the retention board, which I'll show you later, which is applied on the AMD platform and the Intel platform. 4 countersunk screws, whereby you mount the bracket, the Intel or the AMD, on the cold plate itself or the pump block. Now over at this section, this is meant for AMD platform AM4 and AM5, and these are the standoffs. And this section over here, this is for the Intel, whereby you are provided with spacer. Now for the spacer, they have give you 2 sets which support generation 4 all the way to generation 14 Intel processor. And do take note on which spacer to use depending on the generation of processor you use. As you can see, right, label over here. See, this on my right, this is catered for 14 gen, 13 gen, 14 gen, or 12 gen, which is the 1700 socket. Else for this, right, the label is different, which is 1200. The back plate, where you place this below your motherboard and protruding through all these screws, right, on the motherboard, so that you can place these bases. Then the mounting bracket to the cold plate, this is meant for Intel. Be whether you're using generation 4 to all the way to generation 14. Besides this, you'll be given a bag of long screws and short screws. These are meant for you to mount either additional fans to the radiator itself, or for the short screws, right, for you to mount your radiator to your case. This liquid AIO comes in 2 sizes, 240 and 360. What you see here is the 360. Starting off with the measurements of the radiator, from here to here is at 402mm. From here to here is 120mm. And as for the thickness of the radiator, it gives you a total of 27mm. And if you want to include the fan thickness, which is of a standard measurement, 25mm, the total thickness will be at 52mm. The whole radiator, in fact, is made of aluminum, inclusive of the fin stack. And on the radiator itself, there is one subtle logo over here, which is Deepcool. And over the other end, this is where the anti-leak mechanism is. Next, I'll talk about the fans. As this is a 360 variant, you have 3 120mm fans of a standard size, which is 120, 120, and the thickness, as mentioned, 25mm. And these are known as the new fan from Deepcool, known as the FT12 SE. And each fan is drawing a load of 0.3 ampere. So if you do total up 3 together, right, it's at 0.9 ampere. And this, you do not have to worry that it doesn't fit in any of the motherboard fan header, whereby some is rating more than 0.3, you will need to get a fan hub. But for this, right, it's just nice. If you to pair up 3 together, it's giving 0.9 ampere, which most of the motherboard, the minimum is at 1 ampere and the max is at 3 ampere. So it's safe to plug directly with all this daisy chain together, right? Plug directly to your fan header. Speaking about the structure of these fans, right, though as you can see they flex, but you don't have to worry as this is squarish. So when you plug this to the radiator itself, right, together, right, see, it will be very sturdy. And best part of the structure of the fan is in square shape, so this will cover up all the air gaps. See, so when this is operated, right, when the fan blade spins, it will draw maximum airflow through the fans and to your radiator. Besides this, the fan itself is actually a 9-blader, nicely done, and the gap of the blade to the frame itself, right, it's very small, so you can see, you can judge how much air is being drawn. Speaking of which, right, besides this, the fan itself have all these rubber grommets, nicely done with some patterns. And speaking about the frame itself, right, though it's square, but it does give you indication of where the airflow is. So the arrow is pointing this way, so your air will be going this way. So you know that, you know where you place it to draw or to push air to the radiator itself. Now as for the fan spec, max RPM is at 2150 RPM and the minimum is at 500. Now besides this, these fans are nicely done in a way that you can daisy chain them together, as you can see. That's the reason why I take this out. These are of a shorter length, so you can daisy chain them together with the rest of the fans and giving you a very clean look. No cable mess and easy for cable management. And over at this end, right, you're supposed to plug this to your motherboard fan header, but if it is too short, as mentioned to you in the accessory package, this is the extension cable where you can extend. See, you plug it over here, and on this end you plug it to your motherboard. Be it if you're purchasing a 240 or 360 variant of this liquid AIO, take note on the fans, they are non-ARGB. Next will be the hose, nicely braided, and they are very flexible. See, you can bend to some extent, and there are 2 Velcro stripes provided for you to hold down the hose. Nicely done. Now this is something which I like most. As you can see, right, on the pump block itself, the hose are swivelable, very flexible, and the butt itself, right, take a look, a subtle logo, and this cap over here, right, these are aluminium, which will reinforce the holding. Nicely done. Same goes to the other end. See, whereby you see some of the liquid AIO, right, this is plastic, so if you bend too intensively, right, you might break it. But Deepcool have actually enforced this with this aluminium cap. Same goes to the pump area, which is nice. Next will be the pump block itself. Now on the surface itself, this is a 2.8-inch LCD TFT panel, whereby the resolution is from here to here is 640, and the resolution from the top to the bottom is 480. The measurement of this block from side to side, this is measuring at 77mm, and from here to here is measuring at 80mm. And as for the height of the block, measuring from the top to the cold plate over here, this is at 66mm. Now based on the fact this pump block, or should I say this unit, is a sample unit which I loaned from Tech Dynamic, by right the cold plate, which is full copper, this is with pre-paste, but for this unit it doesn't come with it because they already used on their demo set. So I will be testing this unit with the thermal pad. Right. Besides this, now there are tons of cables over here, but do not worry. In fact, it's written on the instruction menu. I'll just go through with you what they have. There are a total of 4 cables on the pump block itself. First, you'll see this is the pump header, whereby you connect to your motherboard fan header that says AIO pump, pump system, or water pump. So make sure you plug this to the water pump header on your motherboard that runs on full speed. Speaking about the speed, right, the max RPM on this pump is 3400 RPM, which is very high. and I believe that the transfer rate, right, will be very good, dissipating the heat off to your radiator and back to the pump. Or should I say, cool down the liquid and back to the pump, which later I'll show you the temperature. Now, next will be this ARGB connector, where you see there's a splitter over here. This is meant for you to plug the ARGB connector to your motherboard ARGB header, whereby this ARGB, right, is littered below the pump over here and over here. And of course, with the splitter, right, if you have additional like ARGB strips and such, you can connect to it. So it controls both your pump and whatever you have connected to it, be it the strip or such. But make sure it's according to the motherboard specs, which most of them is having 3 ampere. So by plugging one, right, to control the pump, not an issue. Next, you have this USB connector. Now, this is meant for you to connect to your motherboard USB 2.0 header, whereby there is an application that controls the display of this LCD, which I will show you later. And of course, with all this, right, when you connect, okay, besides the ARGB connector and the pump header, in order to provide power to your LCD, there is an additional SATA cable which you have to plug in order to supply power to your LCD. So make sure you plug this to your motherboard, to your PSU SATA cable, so that you will supply power to your LCD. More info about the pump itself. This is an in-house pump manufactured from Deepcool, which is a 5th generation. Now in the past, you might worry, especially for the LS720 that they came out with, you might worry that how the temperature goes if I were to mount this pump in different directions, as in like having the hose near to the RAM, at the bottom, or even at the top, or even having the hose at the rear. Now for this pump, Deepcool have actually enhanced what they have created on the cold plate itself. As the whole fins, right, it's actually a very square piece. Okay, let me just take this out. A very square piece throughout. So you don't have to worry whether you place it this way, where the hose is near the RAM, at the bottom, at the rear, or even at the top. In all directions, you can just plug it in and you have good temperature. To prepare on an AMD platform, be AM4 or AM5, first thing you need to do is to remove this screws which is holding the original bracket. Remove this off. Once you have done that, take the standoffs that is provided in this liquid AIO, total of 4. And do note that one side is with plastic, the other one without. So face the plastic below and fasten them on the motherboard. You don't have to be very tight, just hand tight will do. Make sure that it's firmly holding on to the backplate. Now I would advise you to do this when your motherboard is actually on the flat surface. So once you've done this, right, next thing to do, let me just zoom in or zoom out, is to prepare your block. Now do note, this comes with pre-paste, so make sure that you be careful with it. Next thing is to mount these 2 brackets, which is this 2, to the AIO pump. Now, how the direction goes is, as you can see here, it's countersunk, and the other one is flat. Make sure that the countersunk is facing towards you, which is mounting this way. Alright. In fact, right now I'm going to place, since I'm going to place the hose near to my RAM, right, it should be this way, so that it will fit in. Because if I have to fit in this, right, if I'm going to do it this way, see, if I'm going to mount this to the IHS, right, the screw threads are different, so you need to know the orientation. So if you are to place, the hose near your RAMs, make sure it's this way, so that when you mount it, right, you'll be correct. And how to fasten this? You are being provided with 4 short countersunk screws Now these are pretty tiny, do not lose them. So make use of this to screw the bracket to your pump. Now as mentioned, right, please be very careful because the original set where you purchase it, right, there is a pre-paste, so make sure that you don't stain your fingers on the cold plate. Then you screw this to it. Now as an illustration, as I mentioned to you, the bracket, make sure that the countersunk is facing you so that when you screw in your screws, right, this is correct. If you do it incorrectly, right, see this screw here is protruding out, which is wrong. So make sure that the countersunk is facing towards you. See, this is done correctly. When the screw is flush to your bracket. Next thing to do is, since this is already pre-paste, you don't have to touch anything. Clean the surface area with alcohol. Next, apply thermal paste. Then you place this in. Now, as mentioned to you, right, I'll be using thermal pad. This is the thermal pad that is meant for CPU, which I will be conducting the thermal to show you the results on how well this AIO perform. So assuming that you have cleaned it with alcohol, apply your thermal paste, which over here is the thermal pad. Next thing to do is to mount, see, according to the screw holes over here, mount it to these 4 screws, which again, unlike the mounting point, which is 4 area, so it will give you even pressure. So once you have done this, right, provided with the retention bolt, then fasten diagonally accordingly. See, at all times I'm actually holding on the AIO pump so that when you screw down, right, it's even pressure. Once you have done all the 4 sides, then you can start to tighten. Now most of the time when I do this mounting, right, I go through feeling, as in like, how much did it screw in? See, I just swivel it, that it stops. Then from there, tighten diagonally, until you feel that there's a retention. Then make use of your screwdriver to screw in. And my trick of doing it, right, once it tighten and stop there, okay, take for example this way. Now I know this is tightened. I will not leave it that way. I will go back to the screw and turn it 1/4 counterclockwise. That means to say unscrew. So that, yes, it does have the pressure on your IHS, but not over pressuring it. Because for AMD as well, I've experienced, right, it's very sensitive. Once you have mounted the AIO pump on your IHS or processor, next thing to do is to ensure all this connection point, or connectors I should say, that comes on the pump itself to the motherboard. And this is not to your motherboard, right? This SATA cable, in fact, to your PSU, which I'll show you later. I'll first start off with the pump header. This is 3-pin pump header, which will run your pump at full speed, which is 3400. Now, where does it go to? If you were to see on your motherboard, okay, let me just zoom in. See where it says fan pump or pump fan. This is where you should be placing your pump header, which is this 3-pin. Then I'm going to plug it here. See, this is done. Now let me just zoom out. Next thing you will need to do is to plug the USB connector, which is this. Plug it at the bottom where you have two headers over here, 1 and 2. These are the USB header, and you will need to plug this, if not you can't control your LCD. And in order for the LCD to work, make sure you plug your SATA connector to your PSU connector. Now I can't show you my PSU, but this is actually from the PSU, so we just plug this in. This is whereby it supplies the power to your LCD. Then the last thing you need to do is to plug the 3-pin 5V ARGB connector to your motherboard, where mine is actually over here. Okay, let me just zoom in. See, this is the 3-pin 5V ARGB header. So I'll connect this to here, and this is done. Now I know all these cables are in a mess right now. As you can see, this is a whole mess, so you will need to do some cable management. Right, so this is done. Now a very important point, don't forget your radiator fans, okay, which is over here. So I will plug the extension cable over here. Okay, let me just put it this way. Plug it to here, and at this end, which is 4-pin connector, I would connect this to the CPU fan header. Okay, now some motherboard have CPU fan and CPU fan off. Do not plug it at CPU fan off. Make sure you plug it to the CPU fan header, which is over here on my board, which is this. So I'll plug it this. Make sure you remember to plug this, alright? If not, your radiator will not cool. So I have a total of 5 connections, and this is done. For Intel platform, as mentioned, it supports generation 4 all the way to generation 14. Right now, I'm going to make use of the 1700 bracket. First thing you need to prepare is this back plate. You will need to flip your motherboard underneath where you expose the 4 holes over here. And do take note, this is the top VRM heatsink area. Now, for this back plate, you will need to house it over here, pushing the screw thread through this hose. But before you do this, right, there is a mechanism on this back plate. Right now, it's actually locked to the generation 4 all the way to generation 11. So if you want to mount a 1700 socket, which is generation 12 to 14, you will need to push this screw out, all the 4 sides. And once it's done, right, flip it over where you see this Intel. Make sure this Intel logo is facing at the top where your VRM heatsink is. So you just align it and put through. Once it's done, right, hold it, flip over to the front side of your motherboard. Okay. Next, okay, let me just zoom in. Next, you will need to take note on the spacer. As mentioned to you, right, there are 2 types of spacer. So for this, I'll be using the 1700 spacer, which is this. As you can see here, right, it will show. Okay, so having the wording facing towards you, plug this in. Now this is going to be loose, so do not shake your motherboard about. Again, it's best that you do this when your motherboard is actually on a flat surface. Next thing you need to do, okay, let me just zoom out. Prepare the AIO pump with the bracket, mounting bracket, which you can see here. These are the mounting bracket. Again, same style, make sure that the countersunk is facing towards you. Now for Intel, right, it doesn't matter how you place the bracket because it's a square format. But my tip to you, right, since I'm going to mount it this way, okay, where the host is near the RAM, I would place the bracket this way. Okay. So right now what is needed, again, using the countersunk screws to screw your bracket. Now once you've done it correctly, right, check, make sure that the screw flushes to the bracket. See, it's done correctly. Then now, as mentioned, if you bought this new, there is pre-applied paste. You don't have to do anything about this area. Next thing you will need to do is to use alcohol, wipe your IHS, apply the thermal paste. For right now, in fact, I'm going to put this thermal pad. Then next thing to do is to mount your AIO pump to the IHS. Again, align the 4 screw holes to the 4 threads over here. So again, same thing. Always at all times place your fingers, or should I say place your fingers over here to give even pressure. Then use the retention bolt, fasten the 4 sides. The thing is tightened. Take for example, I'll just fast forward. Once you have mounted nicely the AIO pump to your IHS or processor, next you will need to connect all these 4 connectors which is on your pump to your motherboard. Again, I will start off with the pump header, or should I say pump connector. Make sure this is connected to your pump header on your motherboard. Now this is an ASU board, so it will have an indication known as AIO_pump. So plug it to the pump, which I know this is the one, followed by the USB connector, which is located at the bottom, so that your system, right, will be able to control the LCD when you plug this. Next will be the SATA connector, which again plug to your PSU SATA cable to supply power to your LCD. Next will be this, which is the last cable from the pump, to connect this to the 3-pin 5-watt ARGB header, which is located over here. Now for the final piece, which is this is the radiator fan. Now, as mentioned to you, right, some motherboard have this CPU op, which this ASU have it. You have the, okay, let me just zoom in. You have the CPU fan header and the CPU op header. Do not plug your radiator fan header on CPU op. You should be plugging in to the CPU fan header. This is how the Deepcool Mystique application looks like. You can download this at their official website. So once you install it and you launch it, this is the interface where it show you the stats of your CPU, your GPU, and what are the temperature and such, inclusive of your storage, your network, and your RAMs. Now for this interface, right, it's just for your reference. It will not show on the LCD panel, which you see over here. Same goes to the second section, whereby it shows you the computer specs, telling you that what are you using, as in like your OS, your processor, your GPU, your motherboard, your RAMs, and so forth. Now for the third section, this is where you can control the LCD panel. When you look at the right hand corner, right, there's this arrow. When you click on this, it will bring you to this interface. I will first start off with this section over here on my left, whereby it says no load screen display settings, meaning to say when you boot up the system, right, there will be a Deepcool logo flashing. If you do not want to display that at all, you can just set it to turn off screen display. This is what it meant. Else, just leave it as use the preset animation. When you boot up, it will just show the Deepcool, and when you boot to Windows, right, then you will take the settings on my right to be shown on the LCD itself. Now, next will be the brightness of the screen. You can set it how low. Take a look at the, when I move this, right, take a look at the LCD panel. See, this is bright. This is dimmer down. So right now I'm just going to set it to 50%. Now for gyroscope, I will show you later, as I wouldn't want to move the screen right now. Now for this RGB optical sync, right now it's selected as turn on temperature warning, meaning to say, looking at the LCD itself, right, look at my finger, this is where the LCD is, I mean the ARGB is. So this will change when the temperature goes to a certain limit, which is preset on the application itself. Or you can choose to sync with your motherboard ARGB utility. If I turn this off, right, see, it goes to the ARGB of your motherboard. And right now I have not connected this ARGB to my motherboard. Instead, I've connected to a controller. So as I switch this controller, right, you will see that the ARGB will change. Now there are two sections of the ARGB, here and at the top, which is here. See? So if I were to switch color, see, it will just follow. So this is what it meant by the clause over here where it says RGB optical sync with the motherboard. So if you are using the motherboard application, right, you can control the ARGB over here. Right now I'm just going to turn back to the temperature warning. Now on this interface over here, right, the CPU, fan, IO and such, you can select showing what kind of stat. Now for the CPU fan, definitely it's actually your radiator fans, where I set to CPU. Then for the pump itself, right, now based on the fact that I have plugged my pump in this system on system 3, so I just set it to system 3. So this will come in handy. You have to preset everything before you can proceed on to configure on my right, where the first section, right, is monitoring mode. At this mode, right, as you can see, the LCD itself, which is here, you can see the temperature and the sub stats on the right. Now with the first part that's showing the temperature, which is here, this is the first section where you can show the temperature, you can show the CPU frequency. See, the moment when I change this, right, to show the frequency, right, the LCD will react spontaneously. There are no lags. Same goes to if you want to show time. See, the moment I click time, it will display time. Same goes to the rest, like the pump RPM, then followed by the CPU fan, which is your radiator fans. Or if you want to show both, you can just select this and it will show both. Then back to temperature. Now these are all presets. You can't add in any more stats. So these are the only ones that you can select. Next will be the sub stats on my right, where it shows you all the voltage. As you can see, the 3.3 volt, the 5 volt and the 12 volt, all this will be shown. Or you want to change, you want to just to see the system monitoring, you will just change. You can see the frequency, you can see the CPU load and the percentage used on the RAMs. Next will be core data, where it shows you the clock frequency and the RAM usage. I'm just going to set it back to voltage mode. Next will be media mode. Now this is something very interesting. As you can see, the LCD asking you to upload the pictures or image. Now I start off with this section where it says picture. You can click on this and load your pictures. I already done the pictures over here. Now do note that if you were to load something bigger than 5 meg, right, it will show you this. There's an error. So make sure that your picture is not more than 5 meg. So let me just show, for example, this. See, you will show this, and you can adjust accordingly to what you want to show. Okay, let me just stretch everything. So once it's done, right, you just confirm. When you confirm, right, see, it will trigger to your LCD. Then if you want to add more, you can, no problem. So I'm just going to add more. Confirm again. And one thing good about this feature here, right, you can, okay, let me just add more. So assuming that I add this, okay, basically you're importing to your LCD. So having these pictures over here, right, when you select to display, right, so you can display individually. You can check to, to rotate this pictures over here. Oh, scrolling. Yep. See, you can set 3 seconds. You see that it will scroll. See, you will just scroll accordingly. Then this is actually fade in, fade out. Okay. Now, this is separate as in like stationary. You fix on whatever picture you want to put. Now for this, right, you can't plug in any stats. It will just only show images. Next will be animated GIF. You can do this too. No, before I go on with the GIF, right, now if any point of time you do not want these pictures over here, right, you can just click on this spanner tool icon and you can just delete. Select the picture that you do not want, you just delete. See, on the main it's already gone, so you just confirm. Now next will be the GIF, where you can load animated GIF. Let me just load. Okay, for example, let's say I load this. This will take some time because it will need to render before you can port to your LCD. So once it's done, right, it will be shown on the main LCD itself. See, it's already done. As you can see, the LCD, this is animated. Or you want to add more, right, you can just click on the next one, do the same thing, confirm, and you'll render again. This will be easier because it's smaller. See, you will show. And again, you can't add any stats and such on here, so that's the only thing that you can't do, but it does show still pictures and animated GIF. Now as for this, right, I don't seem, oh, okay, it will go accordingly to whatever your GIF is. See, probably you can't see over here. Okay, probably I'll do it this. It will follow, see, the ARGB will follow your GIF picture to animate. Pretty nifty. So these are the things that you can do on this application and to have full control, but I think most of you guys will be setting on monitoring mode. I would prefer to do this. Now coming to this gyroscope, or should I say gyroscopic, right, what it meant is that in the event if let's say your LCD, right, I mean it's like orientated in different direction, right, take a look. See, it reacts. That's why one thing good about this LCD is that when you position your palm in different location, as in like the host, right, this is near to the RAM or probably at the bottom, the screen will just follow. And if you want to fix this, right, you wouldn't want to change this, you can go to the controller and to turn off the gyroscope, and when you turn right, it will be fixed, it will not change. So this is what it meant by gyroscope. a very useful function. For the thermal performance of this liquid AIO, I would say that it's very consistent and it's good. Why did I say so? Because I've tested 3 different positions, be it on Intel or AMD. The first position, whereby the liquid AIO host is near the RAMs. The second position is whereby the host is near the M.2, which is at the bottom. And third, the host is at the rear of the rear I/O. So these are the 3 which I've tested, and it's been like I would say few hours that I've done this. Reason being, right, for each test I've conducted with the position, I will first run 30 minutes, let it sit on Cinebench R23. Then once it's done, right, I let it idle for 5 minutes. Then I will conduct the actual 10 minutes run. And every position I'm doing this. Reason for this, right, for the first 30 minutes, I'm just letting the AIO cold plate to cure together with the processor. So that's the reason why. So with this say, right, this was taken off the last 4 minutes of this Intel processor that I'm testing on, which is actually an Intel platform. I made use of the i7-13700K with the PL1 and PL2, which is power limit 1, and power limit 2, which is the long duration and short duration, at 253 watts, and having a V-core offset of minus 0.05 volt. Now, there is something that I like to confess. Before, when I update the BIOS on this Z790 Maximus Hero motherboard, I am able to draw the wattage up to what I've configured. As you can see over here, my PL1 and PL2 I've set it to 253. But for this last 4 minutes, right, when I run with the new BIOS, it just stays at 232. So I got to apologize on this, but overall it's still performing, though there are some performance drop. As you can see over here, right, now don't look at the average effective clock. Now I used to be able to actually hover around 5.1 and so I deliberately pulled the hardware info to show you guys. See, I can sustain at 5.3 GHz, no problem. Now this average effective clock, in fact, is total up everything and to divide to give you this. In the past, as mentioned, I'm able to, with these settings over here, right, I'm able to get it at 5.1 or 5.2, no problem. But after I did the BIOS update, right, I didn't notice this until, when I do the test, then I see that, hey, something is very, very wrong. And I was testing a previous liquid AIO, I can get to 5.1, but why not this? Then later I realized when I go to the BIOS setup, right, there is this section where it shows you the amperage drawn. Previously, I have witnessed that it's actually set at 517 ampere, but right after the BIOS update, right, I'm only getting about 380 to 400. That's it. So that's the reason why. But anyway, as I mentioned, that this liquid AIO still perform. Reason being, right, it's hovering around 79 to 80 degrees Celsius when I did the settings, and it's doing 5.3, 5.2, 5.3, sometimes even 5.4 gig, which is okay to me. So it's sustainable. Besides this, right, I did test on the AMD platform, which I'm going to pull. Now, this, I got to say, is consistent and it's yielding very good result. Let me just pull to the last 4 or 3 minutes. Okay, I'll just let it run. Now for this platform, I am using a R9 7950X with all these settings. PPT at 185. Sorry about this. This is not TDP, it's TDC, which is 145, and the EDC is 160. And with the offset again, minus 0.05 volt. So these are the settings that I've configured on this B650 Mota MSI motherboard. Okay, and it's only it's actually a micro ATX motherboard, mid-tier board, not really fantastic, but look at the results. I am shocked. For other AIOs that I've tried, right, I won't say Arctic or whatsoever, but those general type of liquid cooler, the temperature I'll be getting around 88 degrees, almost 90, 89 degrees Celsius. But for this liquid AIO, right, it is almost on par with some of the top liquid AIOs out there, which is hovering around hovering around 83 to 85 degrees Celsius, and it's consistent. And furthermore, the I would say the clock speed, right, is doing pretty good, and sometimes it will go above 5.4 or 5.5 gigahertz. And amazed me is that this section over here where you see the motherboard temperature, the DDR5 RAMs, and my M.2, see, is of low temperature. On a M-ATX board with such low temperature, this is rather amazing. So this does tell that the liquid AIO is absorbing a lot of heat off from the processor, because if heat is less absorbed away from the processor, right, the heat from the processor will go to the motherboard, and this often happen on micro ATX board if you were to pump it. But instead of having high temperature on other components, right, it's decreasing drastically. It doesn't even go above 50 degrees Celsius, which proven that this liquid AIO is absorbing all the heat, be it whether you place the position whereby the host is near the RAMs, or at the bottom, or at the back. I have this consistency. It will never go above 85 degrees Celsius. My impression of this Deepcool Mystique 360 is much better than I expected, because I was expecting when I unbox it, it feels like the LT720, but I was shocked. Yes, though some of this material are plastic, but it doesn't look like plastic. It looks premium when you mount it in the case. As compared to the LT720, right, that looks a bit plasticky, but this does not, because they have essence of gunmetal, and the way they design it and the way they engineer it, it's perfect. Why do I say this? First of all, I can orientate this liquid AIO in any direction based on the fact that the cold plate that is having a bigger surface area that covers all the area, be it whether you have the hose at the side, the hose at the bottom, or even at the top or at the back. It does cover, and I've tested with the thermal results. Is fantastic. And best part of all, how they did the design and engineer this whole liquid AIO, right? They put into details like the cap over here, these are metal, and the slight details like the logo, which you can't see, but greatly appreciate that, a significance of how proud they are with this product. And the lightings, see, it's not over, it's like not overdose with ARGB, which I like. And this does work as a warning LEDs, because based on the fact that I'll show you on the configuration side on the application, the LEDs, you can set it to have the temperature warning, or you can set it to do your own ARGB effects. Next of all, the whole build, which I like again, the daisy chain of the fans is pretty simple, straightforward. Now, as for the noise, I would just bring this close to my mic. Okay, it's pretty close. Now that's how it sounds like for the pump. And as for the fan, right, I wouldn't want to actually do a noise test on the fan itself, because I find it's actually redundant, because the main fact is that when it's at 2150 RPM, it's only going to hum, it's not going to hiss or giving you sharp pitch, which is nice. These fans in fact are much better. The FT12 SE are much better than the FK120 on the LT720. Now besides this, right, there are some stuff that I do not like about this AIO. Should I say like and dislike? Now on the application itself, right, all this item over here, right, are very straightforward. You can see all the presets, and the response on the application and the LCD display, right, is identical. There are no lags, no delay, which is on a bonus point. But the thing is that I can't do customized status on this LCD panel. So that's one downside. And another thing is that the fans over here, right, they are non-ARGB. So imagine that you have your whole case and all your case fans are all ARGB except for this, and you mount it at the top, right? I feel that Deepcool should come out with another version that has ARGB on the fans itself to match the rest of the component if end users or builders, right, were to choose case fans with ARGB. If you are the kind that like aesthetic to be stealth black, right, then this cooler will suit your build. Furthermore, it does perform very well. Now for those of you who actually wanted ARGB, right, probably you need to change out this fans to some ARGB fans. So with this said, I hope you guys have actually enjoyed what I've shared with you, and thanks to Deepcool to have provided this unit for me to share with you guys, and to Tech Dynamic to have done the arrangement on the delivery. If you guys are new to my channel and if you like my content, do remember to subscribe and to click on the notification bell button. Till then, take care, goodbye, see ya.